Have you ever wondered why some people magnetize others without effort? Why do certain individuals seem to command respect, admiration, and desperate need simply by existing? The answer is not in what they give. It is in what they withhold. It is not in their accessibility. It is in their mystery. When you understand this fundamental principle, the entire dynamic shifts. You become not the servant seeking approval, but the one being sought after. Most people have it backwards. They believe that to be wanted, they must be available. To be valued, they must give constantly. To be loved, they must perform endlessly. But this is the greatest lie ever sold to the human soul. Because the moment you stop chasing others and start building something within yourself, they begin to chase you. Think about the last person who made you feel like they needed you desperately. Were they constantly available? Were they eager to respond to your every message? Or were they somehow unreachable, selective, present only when it served them? The second type is who we are talking about. The ones who thrive in your attention because they taught you that their attention is rare, precious, earned. Carl Jung understood something profound about human psychology. He knew that we desire what we cannot have. We chase what runs from us. We obsess over what eludes us. This is not weakness. This is the nature of the human psyche. And once you grasp this, you can navigate relationships from a place of power rather than desperation. When you become selective with your presence, something shifts in the perception of others. Suddenly, your time becomes valuable. Suddenly, your words carry weight. Suddenly, people reorganize their lives around the possibility of earning a moment of your attention. This is not manipulation. This is simply the natural law of supply and demand applied to human connection. The first principle is understanding that your presence is a currency. Like any currency, if you distribute it endlessly with no value attached, it becomes worthless. But if you control its supply, if you make it rare, if you only spend it where it truly matters, it becomes priceless. People will do remarkable things just to receive a fraction of your attention. Consider how you respond to someone who is always available versus someone who is not. The available person becomes predictable, boring, taken for granted, they lose their power, but the person who is selective, who sometimes does not respond, who occasionally withdraws, who is not always reachable, this person becomes intriguing, this person becomes worth pursuing. This is not about being cold or cruel, this is about understanding that desperation repels and mystery attracts. When you stop being desperate for validation, others become desperate to give it to you. When you stop chasing, others start running after you. When you stop explaining yourself, people lean in to understand you better. The second principle involves creating distance as a form of intimacy. Paradoxical as it sounds, distance makes people cherish you more. When you are always there, when you are always available, your presence loses its impact. But when you are occasionally absent, when you are sometimes unreachable, your return becomes meaningful. Your presence becomes an event rather than a given. Think about relationships where someone disappears for weeks and then returns as if nothing happened. Often, the other person is more excited to reconnect than they were when constantly engaged. This is because the absence created a void. The void created desire. The desire created value. This is how you make people thrive for your attention. But here is where most people fail. They try to play games without understanding the psychology beneath. They ignore people hoping for attention, but then reveal their desperation. They withdraw but then explain why they are withdrawing, which defeats the entire purpose. The key is to be unavailable not as a strategy, but as a natural consequence of valuing yourself. When you genuinely prioritize your own life, your own growth, your own peace, unavailability is not an act, it is a reality. You are simply busy. You are simply focused on things more important than being at everyone's beck and call. And this authenticity is what makes it so powerful. People sense the difference between calculated withdrawal and genuine self-priority. The third principle is about teaching people what to expect from you. You are training them. Every time you respond immediately, you are training them to expect immediate responses. Every time you drop everything for them, you are teaching them that their needs come before yours. But when you sometimes do not respond immediately, when you sometimes say you are busy, you are establishing new boundaries. It takes time for people to adjust to new patterns. They will test you. They will push back. They will try to trigger you into old patterns because those patterns serve them well. But if you remain consistent, if you hold your new standard, they will eventually accept it and even respect it. The fourth principle involves becoming genuinely fascinating. You cannot make people thrive for your attention if there is nothing worth thriving for. This is where self-development becomes crucial. When you invest in yourself, your skills, your knowledge, your experiences, your peace, you become someone worth knowing. You become someone whose attention is genuinely valuable because you yourself are valuable. This could mean developing expertise in something, cultivating unique experiences, building a compelling life, or deepening your self-knowledge. When people see that you are building something meaningful, that your time is being invested in growth, they automatically perceive your attention as more valuable. The fifth principle is selectivity. This is perhaps the most critical element. You must become someone who chooses carefully, who gets access to your time, your energy, your vulnerability, your presence. This selectivity communicates that you are discerning, that not everyone qualifies, that being in your orbit is a privilege. Most people give away access like charity. They respond to everyone, engage with everyone, show interest in everyone. But the moment you become selective, the moment you allow some people close and keep others at a distance, your value skyrockets. People wonder what makes others special. People wonder if they qualify. People begin to pursue you. The sixth principle involves the power of your word. When you say you will do something, you do it. When you say you are busy, people believe you are busy. When you say you do not engage in certain conversations, they respect that boundary. But when your words are empty, when you say things you do not mean, when you make promises you do not keep, your word loses power. This means being honest about your availability. If you cannot be present, do not pretend. If you do not want to engage, do not fake it. Your honesty becomes your strength, and people learn to take you seriously because they know you are genuine. The seventh principle is understanding that people want to feel chosen. When someone knows that you are selective, but you chose them, they feel special. They feel valued. They feel like they won something. This is intoxicating. This is what makes them thrive for more of your attention. They want to keep earning your choice. The reverse is also true. When you give your attention indiscriminately, it means nothing. When you respond to everyone equally, no one feels special. But when someone knows that you could be with anyone, doing anything, yet you chose to give them your time, they feel the weight of that choice. The eighth principle involves strategic absence. There are moments when disappearing completely serves a purpose, not to manipulate, but to remind people of your value. When you are gone, they notice. When you return, they appreciate you differently. Absence sharpens your presence in their mind. But this must be authentic. If you are strategic about your absence just to create drama, it will eventually feel hollow. But if you are genuinely focused on other things, if you naturally create distance, if you are not constantly available, then your occasional disappearance becomes powerful. The ninth principle is about owning your power without apology. When you make someone wait for your response, do not apologize for it. When you say no to their demands, do not explain it excessively. When you set boundaries, do not soften them with guilt. Your confidence in your own worth communicates more than any words could. People respect what they cannot push around. People value what they cannot easily access. When you stand firm in who you are and what you offer, when you refuse to be moved by guilt or pressure, you become magnetic. The 10th and final principle is that this must all stem from genuine self-love, not self-hatred masked as independence. The goal is not to hurt people or make them feel bad. The goal is to create a dynamic where you are treating yourself with the respect you deserve, and they are benefiting from being in a relationship with someone who has boundaries and self-worth. When you genuinely love yourself, when you genuinely prioritize your peace and growth, when you genuinely believe that your attention is valuable, others feel this. They feel your self-respect, they feel your wholeness, and they cannot help but respect you too. This is how you make them thrive for your attention. Not through games or manipulation, but through becoming someone so committed to their own growth and peace that they naturally become desperate to be part of your world. You do not chase, you build. You do not beg, you create value. You do not perform, you simply become. And in doing so, you attract people who appreciate your authenticity. You build relationships where the other person is invested in keeping you close. You create a dynamic where your presence is a gift, not an obligation. This is the power that transforms everything. If this resonates with you, if you understand that your attention is currency and your presence is precious, then you already know what to do. You must start valuing yourself the way you have always wanted others to value you. And when you do that, everything changes. They will thrive for your attention because you finally showed them it is worth thriving for.